Hey everyone. I'm here to talk to you about compiling with Cloud Build. Kind of get everyone seated for a second. So my name is Chris Figueroa. Currently I work at Unity on Xbox One. Previously I worked at Activision. Worked at Activision Value and did licensed titles. My time there I worked for 3 years and did 47 games. My specialty is consoles, all the way from 2 generations ago till now. But in my spare time, I make indie games, and that's what I'm going to talk to you about. I'm going to talk to you about making games and using Cloud Build, and then we're going to talk about Snowhorse, which is the weirdest, funniest thing you'll ever experience. So first, how did I get here? Snowhorse is, I was testing physics in Unity. We upgraded PhysX, and I needed to test it on Xbox One. So I put a box going down a hill, put a horse 3D model on it because it was funny. And Kotaku and IGN wrote an article about it saying it was the Tony Hawk game we deserved. And I didn't look back. I just kept making it. So let's check it out. Do you have audio? Maybe? There you go.
The chosen one. It takes.
Snowhorse, stir up the crowd with your great moves, yeah. Snowhorse, I bet you got frosty. Snowhorse, lightning tail, rainbow speed, yeah. Snowhorse, let's go!
So this is Snowhorse. It's pretty ridiculous. I told you guys. So you guys are probably asking, why the hell are you making this ridiculous game? And it came down to this. Notch tweeted it. And it exploded from there. Notch made a game called Cliff Horse, which was a horse that essentially climbed cliffs. And so Snowhorse, I sent it to him and said, like, hey, we got a Snowhorse. And he ended up sending me a message, and we talked about it, and he's like, this needs to happen. So this is going to be my experience of making Snowhorse for you guys at Cloud Build. It's pretty crazy. How many people are making a game on more than one platform? You'd be surprised how many people asked this question last time, and most people were only doing one. So it isn't fun. Cross-platform development sucks. There are many ways to do it. The worst thing is maintenance. Branches, testing multiple versions, and porting fixes is just, it's the worst. It's not fun. No one likes to do it. This is usually how most people do it. If-defing is so crazy. So this is how I do Snowhorse. I use if-defs for everything. Previously, when I worked at Activision, we would get to a generic base game that didn't have any features for platforms or OS or anything. It was just really base. And then they would branch it, and they would go to each platform from there. That's why you would see bugs sometimes on one console and not on another. So when I started making games on my own, if-defing is the way that I went, because I stay on one branch and compile that way. And then in walks Cloud Build. And you guys are thinking, like, what is Cloud Build and how does this have anything to do with it? When I worked at Activision, I wish that we had something like this. It would have helped, because I made games for Xbox 360 and PS3, and when we made builds, it would take days. We had an internal torrent server, and once I torrented everything, and then I would write to a disk, and it would be 7 p.m., and I would make like 40 disks, and 20 of them would fail overnight. So this is amazing. Cloud Build is so great, and I'm going to kind of tell you why. So cross-platform development is hard. All games are not equal, and all platforms are not equal. I really did just make this up, like 10 minutes before. But it's really true. Every single one of you writes all of your games different. And I see projects all day at Unity, and it's insane. Even the person that you work with sitting next to you uses and writes code in a way that you haven't seen, and it will make you cringe. So this is really it. I have no idea what I'm doing with cross-platform development half the time. Most of the time, you're like just developing, and you're just like, I need to switch platforms now, but I don't know what to do. I'm just going to switch and see what happens. And don't tell me that that's not how it is, because that's really how it is. You just don't know until you actually test it on that other platform or anything. So how does Cloud Build have to do with this? This is like the generic way that I'm going to tell you about how I did Snowhorse. I did iOS, Windows, Mac, and Linux, and then Steam version with the Steam SDK. It's different. If you've ever made a Steam game, you just have to do things a little differently. And then the Windows, Mac, and Linux was the DRM-free version for Humble Bundle for Snowhorse that I'm doing. So let's keep going. So when you toss something at Cloud Build, you just tell them, like, here's my Git repo, here's SVN, here's something. And then it watches it. You tell it what branch it wants to be in, master, anything you want. Don't do master, please do a release branch or something. But you submit it to Cloud Build. It builds for you in the cloud, does it all for you, and then you get this report back. Gives you a link to install it, download it. You can see your log. It tells you, yes, Snowhorse does have 204 warnings when I first did it, which is ridiculous. But that is where Cloud Build is amazing, the summary part right there. When I did Snowhorse the first time, switching platforms in Unity isn't fun. You switch and you just wait, and it says importing small assets for an hour. So it's terrible. So when you do actually do Cloud Build, you don't have to do any of it. You sit in one platform on your computer and you develop it, you commit everything, and you toss it up to Cloud Build and it will do it for you. It switches all the platforms, it does it all for you, and then it gives you back this summary. The summary is really what I want you guys to realize, and that's kind of how it was at Activision too. We just wanted things to be green, essentially, is what we called it, where it compiled. And then after that, we would hone in on that specific platform and fix things. So what does this do? What am I supposed to do with this log, or what are you supposed to do with this log? For you guys, for me, you just say, here's 14 builds I want. I want Windows, I want everything. Just build and do it. And then you're going to get back. For your QA, they're going to know what failed and what didn't. Why should they even spend their time on something that has errors and isn't going to work? And then also device builds are really great. So if you do iOS or Android, you can just get a direct link and just throw it to someone, and they can install it on their device immediately, which is really easy and great. The iOS setup is pretty easy also, surprisingly. So again, you toss it up to Cloud Build and it passed. So now what? You're going to do it again, over and over and over again until it passes and your warnings go away, and you're working in your one branch in Unity on your one platform on your computer, and you're just fixing things. You're looking at the logs and you're like, oh, iOS is trying to call an achievement on Steam or on Windows or something. So then you'll if-def that out, fix it, commit it, throw it up to Cloud Build, and you just keep doing that over and over again until eventually you have no warnings, everything's green, and then you're actually in a better state. You weren't sitting there at your computer staring there at importing small assets forever, and Cloud Build handles it all for you. One thing I will say is that as a programmer, it is the weirdest feeling to not build. And you're going to laugh and be like, no, I would love that. I would love not to build. But it's real. Like, I have the weirdest, hardest time committing and then just going back into Unity and continue working. Like, it's just weird. So this is what the backend looks like if you haven't seen Cloud Build when you do something. It tells you what your average build time is, how big your project is. And this isn't Snowhorse, actually. This is an enterprise, a bigger game, obviously. Snowhorse would be ridiculous if it was 31 gigs. So yeah, it tells you, like, hey, you had 22 failed, you had 143 canceled, 260 successful. Those canceled were me being stupid. I just committed something and was like, oh, wait, I just forgot to do this other part. So then you get a build health, which is really nice because then you'll know, like, hey, you were green 64% of the time that you did this or whatever. So it's, again, I call this like success with errors. It's trial and error, really. You're just throwing your project up there, you're seeing what happens, and it's actually really, really nice. And even if you just do it in the beginning, just as you start the process for cross-platform development, I strongly suggest to do it in the beginning. as soon as possible so you'll know. Because otherwise, if you develop your whole game on one platform and then you start switching, it's going to get harder and harder. So again, this is what it feels like half the time. It really does. You're just kind of fixing things and tossing it back up and hoping that eventually it works over and over and over again. But I cannot tell you enough how this is actually a really, really great thing, and I wish that more people would use Cloud Build in this way. The Cloud Build team is not happy that I'm telling you to just essentially ruin their servers with as many builds as you can, but it's okay. Cloud Build has no repo sizes as of the start of this, so previously they had repo sizes. So if you do have a project that is 31 gigs, that's fine. And that's it. If you guys want to get a hold of me, Twitter is kind of my life, or you can email me and for my games company and chris@knifigames.com.